Let's talk a little bit about 2020. It's been such a monumental year. And, as you described, it almost feels like the 60s where there's so many things that are redefining and reshaping our future. How do you think we're going to look at 2020, especially from a journalism standpoint in the coming years and a decade from now?
What a terrific question. Again, I think the 2020s, from a journalism standpoint, will see the birth of probably here in the States a half dozen major new news brands that I think will be critical and important beyond our borders. Probably another 10 or 15 that aren't household names today. And so I think by the end of this decade, there will be a couple of dozen major brands who, in the same way that today we know brands like CNN and Fox and others, I think will be really important in terms of how people receive their news and think about this world.
Now, speaking about brands, and not to call out one nominee over somebody else, but I thought it was interesting on how Steve Kornacki, who's nominated for an Emmy, not just as somebody who's giving off numbers on television, but turned into a social media star this year. I mean, how crazy was it to see his rise?
You know what? It's fun to see people play across mediums and learn and grow and try on new things. And I think that's just been an absolutely tremendous opportunity for him and for many others to really get to know it. For example, I love TikTok, and to see all the people who you wouldn't think would thrive in that environment, you're always wonderfully surprised, and it's a good thing to see.
2021, what do you think are the stories that are shaping this year that we're going to see at the Emmys next year?
Yeah, I think artificial intelligence for sure, Rudy. I think it's getting integrated into more and more of our world in different ways. I think as students return to college campuses, I think you're going to have a fresh conversation again around race and inclusion. So I think that that's also going to be a meaningful part of it. I think there's no way to ignore all that's happening with migration and migrants, whether from Haiti or from Central America. And so I think that that'll be a meaningful part of the story too. And then I think there's going to be something interesting about how are we able to disagree and be in dialogue and hear other people and other voices, maybe even some that we don't agree on. And I know that may not feel like a firm thing, but there's something there, whether it's a spouses or parent and child or, political opponents, how do we figure out how to get outside of our bubble sometimes and be open to different perspectives and points of view?
That's definitely a conversation we need to have to move forward as a family, as a country, as a nation, as friends. The news and documentary Emmys taking place the 28th and 29th. Carlos Watson is the host. Definitely a year that reshaped history, and I can't wait to see who's winning these big awards. Thank you so much for your time today, Carlos.
Thank you. My pleasure.